We are live, I think. I like how I always say that like very confidently, but in my head it is not very confident at all. Let
Yeah, you're
me
live.
tweet it out. Um, you don't look like you're in Minnesota. I know where you are, but just for the show.
I also don't live in Minnesota.
I know. But well, to be fair, you don't look like you're in Texas either.
Correct. Yep.
Do they have any kinds of trees in Texas? I feel like trees just don't exist in Texas.
Yeah, they definitely have trees because I uh, hit one with every drive off the tee for the golf ball.
Why is it always so hard for me to find like the stream? Like I think I have like oh, here we go.
You can just use the link that I sent.
Yeah. All right, let me tweet this out. Um, all right, while I tweet this out, say something smart or intelligent or funny, something.
Smart or intelligent? It's not really my strong suit.
So
Looks like a
what adjective could I have given you there? Say something blank, and what would have been acceptable? I'll learn for the future.
dumb.
All right, say something dumb.
Do you like my chicken hat?
Is it blue, red, orange, yellow?
The chicken itself or the hat?
Yeah, no, the chicken looks like it's like a
The
rainbow
chicken
chicken.
is yeah, kind of. I mean, that's actually what they look like. So
What do you think
yeah,
looks better, that chicken or those Baylor uniforms?
I like those uniforms actually. I've
That's like
been
that's I could see like when it's like your team. It's like the Steelers with those ones uniforms when nobody likes them, but the Steelers are like, oh, these are the best. I could see it, but it's
yeah,
like
those. I mean, the problem is they don't go with the TCU uniforms. They don't match at all with that.
I
If
knew it
we
was
would
gonna
have
be
used,
TCU's fault.
well, yeah, a lot of it's TCU's fault, but no, I would play with those uniforms on NCAA 14 all the time just because I love them. But we've never used them until yesterday, and they
What
did not translate well.
I read something. I don't know if this is a while ago. I don't know if this is true or not. That other teams used to when Oregon first started this whole like neon yellow thing. You know, there's matte black, all that stuff. Other teams were figuring out what Oregon was going to wear before they decided their uniforms because they were like, we can't let this team
Really?
come out like that and us come out in like white uniforms. Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not because people just say whatever in college football. But I like that like a head coach is like it's like the Friday before a game. It's like they're going through the walkthrough and he's like, "But are they yellow? Are they green? What's Oregon wearing? That's what we need to know."
They just play a totally different game based on the uniforms.
I mean, they were they in the first college football playoff championship? They were
Pretty
the
sure.
first one.
Hmm.
I never remember if they were the first one or if they were the last BCS one. Let me. All right, this
Pretty
is
sure it was the
tweeted
first one.
out. I don't even remember. Florida State, Oregon, Ohio State, right? They played Ohio State.
Ohio State beat Oregon. Yeah,
So that was the first one because that was Cardell Jones.
yeah, and Florida State was in it, and I don't remember who the fourth team was. Was it Washington? No.
Um,
Was it Alabama?
I
Was it
would.
Clemson?
I was gonna say I'm gonna take a guess and say Alabama or Clemson and probably be like
Hmm.
80% right. That
Yeah,
wasn't. Oh no, because Michigan State got blown out, they lost to Alabama, so that was later.
I forgot Michigan State made a playoff.
They people talk about how bad TCU got, you know, whatever adjective you want to use last year. At least they made it to the championship game. Michigan State didn't even show up to the playoff. I think it was 52-3. I think it was 52-3. I think they kicked the field goal
Yeah,
down like 40 or something.
yeah, that's
Which to
definitely
be
worse
fair, I'm
than
doing
the.
the same thing.
Yeah, that's definitely worse than every time Oklahoma's made the playoff.
I forgot to tag you in my tweet, so sorry.
It's fine.
and
just hurtful.
my brains. All right, let's do. What do you want to do? Well, let's go quickly. Thursday night, Ravens, Bengals. I saw a funny tweet. It said, now with Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow out from the year, Kenny Pickett is one quarterback injury away from being the fourth best quarterback in the AFC North.
The fourth best active quarterback, yeah.
But
tough.
okay, so obviously Ravens win. It's AFC North is kind of a shit show right now. It's kind of Andrews obviously out for the year, Burrow out for the year. Lamar got hurt. He played through it. Who knows what it is? The Browns today, for whatever reason, are starting DTR over PJ Walker. If this Browns team had like 3 wins, I think starting DTR is the right move, because PJ Walker, you know what he is. Like, I think this is almost like a PJ Walker situation. It's like, we have a great defense. Let's just kind of, hopefully he can come in and not make mistakes. DTR, I think in the end could be the guy. He definitely showed flashes when he was at UCLA. I mean, we saw against the Ravens earlier this year, he's just running around like a chicken with his head cut off, in reference to your hat. There you go. There's a chicken reference. But he's just like, he's not ready for it. And this is where it bothers me, because obviously I don't like the Browns, but it's like, you put him out here and he has like 2 or 3 bad games, that could be his entire career. Like, that could be it. He's played 4 games his rookie season, and all 4 of them were shit. I mean, do you get it? Why, if you're Cleveland, what's the upside of starting DTR this week at least?
That he somehow turns into the guy without any, without a season of reps against one of the top defenses in the league. That doesn't make any sense to me. You're starting him in a game with a total of 33.5, and obviously no Nick Chubb. So you need him to be the guy against his defense, and that's just not going to happen. It doesn't make any sense.
And it's almost, to me, it was like the perfect situation where it's like, now you kind of know Deshaun's out for the year. You can give PJ Walker a week or 2, especially a week like this week, and set a goal. Be like, I don't even know I don't know if they've had it. I think they've already had their bye, but be like, hey, we're going to start DTR week 14. He's going to have 3 weeks. We're going to, whatever. But no, they're just going to throw him right back into the fire. It just.
And if they started PJ Walker, they'd be in playoff contention still. That's the craziest part.
The Browns will always be the Browns. That's just what it comes down to. The Browns make decisions that the Browns make.
They do.
All right. Well, we kind of already touched on that game a little bit. It's a low total. I think it's still probably too high, right?
Yeah, it moved up a point this morning. I'm not sure why. I am going to be on the under. Going to take the Steelers just because Robinson is not going to be the guy. That's the only reason for the pick.
And I mean, for me, when I look at that, it's a classic situation. It's an AFC North game. Those games are almost always close. You have the random outliers that aren't. But for me, especially with the Steelers and AFC North games, as a dog, you take him. As a favorite, you fade him. And 2-point dogs, I get it. They're really not a dog. But that's just that's the Tomlin kind of mentality is, they'll be 6-point favorites and they'll lose by 15, or they'll be 4-point underdogs and win by 12. That's just kind of what they are. I guess a general gambling question for you. They're plus 110 on the money line, and it's minus 110 for plus 2. Would you ever take the money line over that? It's 20 points of juice. I think 2 points, especially in an AFC North game, somebody scores, they go for 2 at the end, they get it, they don't get it. To me, I think 2 points is, in this kind of game. If the total was 50, 52, not as much, but I think if you're this game with a low total, 17, 16, like something like that, that's how this game could end.
Yeah, I think yesterday Utah was plus 1.5. I bought it up to 2 just because I felt like that could have been a close game. Now that obviously didn't work out.
That was at Arizona.
Yeah,
they lost by like 30, right?
Yeah,
I didn't.
But
to be honest, I didn't realize Arizona was good. I thought they stunk.
Yeah, they're number 17 before this week, and then they just killed number 22 Utah. So that was definitely unexpected for me. But In general, yeah, plus 1.5, 2. I'd try to buy it up to 2. I mean,
Yeah,
Miami is
buying the
minus
hook, I
1.
get.
Yeah. If they're plus 1, then I'm going to do money line. Just 1.5, 2. I'll still take the spread.
Yeah, like I said, I think that's kind of just like a general gambling rule of thumb for me is the higher the total, the more likely I'm taking on money line on a 2 or 3 point spread. Obviously, lower total,
Mm-hmm.
you expect it. You're not expecting a 30-3 game and a 37 or 36 point total, whatever the total is now. Is there any 1 o'clock game that sticks out to you, either entertaining wise, gambling wise, fantasy wise? I can run through them real quick. I've got them in front of me.
No, I have
Bears
them up.
Lions. Okay.
Bears Lions.
The
Yeah,
first
you
one
can
I said
go.
is the
Yeah, go
first
ahead.
one. I'd say the first one that I said, that's the first one that interests me.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. Draft game for Detroit. Or not draft game, but look ahead.
It's just a weird line because
Mm.
I guess that's kind of what it should be, but Detroit at home, I thought was going to be double digits. And the fact that they're not, I think part of it, and this may be stupid, is because it says Detroit Lions. Like I think if it was like if the Patriots were good or like the Ravens or the Steelers, those teams, I think they're probably closer to, just the name factor. I think people are
Yeah.
still like getting used to the fact, even with the Jaguars too. Like, can I lay 8 points with the Detroit Lions? Like, is that a thing?
Yeah. It's also just the type of win they had last week too, where it was so back and forth and their defense can't stop anybody. Um, if they have that type of output against Chicago with Fields coming back, um, that could be. That's probably my best reason to take Chicago. I'm still going to be on the Lions, but
I would say I'm not even going to touch the spread. I like the over, and I also like the Lions team total over.
yeah, over for sure.
So when you look at the Lions home games this year, you've got the one exception where they played the Falcons. It was, I think, 20-6 or something like that. But you look at all their other home games this year: Seahawks Lions 37-31, Lions Panthers 42-24, Lions Raiders 26-14. So I mean, they're even in the quote stinker of a game, they still put up 20 points at home. They've got 40-point upside. Golf is, I don't want to say like the prototypical, but he's pretty much the prototypical guy of like, you want him at home, and on the road he's kind of gotten better. A couple years ago it was like, if it's below 40 degrees, do not touch him. He's kind of gotten better, but he's still, once he's in that dome, he's a different animal. And that all comes with it with Laporta, Amon-Ra, all of them. It's like we were talking about with Oregon. When these guys are on this turf, they just run faster, and they're built for it.
Yeah.
Can we stop? People are still doing this. David Montgomery's good. He's not good. He occasionally has good games. Okay. I need to get that out because he'll have a long run. He'll have a good game. He sucks.
As a Jahmyr Gibbs fantasy owner, Dave Montgomery's not good. I don't know why the Lions think he is.
The Lions will never have a running back that just is their running back ever.
They're the Patriots. They're the yeah.
All right. I gave that. That's one of the 1 o'clock games that I'm kind of early invested into. Would give me something for you, and then I'll kind of go through some of my bets and some of the stuff at 1 o'clock that I have.
Chargers, Packers.
You can say it. The
Chargers
Packers are the worst team in football. You want to say it, just say it. The Packers are the worst team in football.
The Packers are bad, and the Chargers are only 3-point favorites. That's surprising to me.
Because I know it's not technically East, but it's a West Coast team coming East, and Chargers going cold. It is going to be cold. I think I saw it was like 36, 37 degrees, something like that. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's one of those where I would hate to lay the 3 points. I'd almost take the money line and kind of parlay it with a bigger money line and just kind of try and get it around even. Because that's another game that I could see The Chargers offense is good, but the Chargers offense has games where they are like Stanford. They'll like have like 380 yards and have like 14 points. It's like we just had a 7-minute drive, 79 yards, and we kicked a 18-yard field goal. Like what? So this could be, this is a game where Chargers Packers 2 years ago, you're like, this is 40-38. This is up and down the field. This is not anymore because Jordan Love ain't putting up 40 points.
Yeah, it makes me laugh every time that the Packers thought Jordan Love was the guy. It just makes my day.
It was almost like if Jordan Love was the guy, it's just not fair to have potentially three quarterbacks in 30 something years. It's like, yeah, like what, like,
yeah, you went 25 with Favre and Rodgers, and then you're going to go another 15 with Love. No, unacceptable.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Vikings fans over there is trying to convince himself that Kirk Cousins is the guy.
He is the guy.
No, Josh Dobbs is the guy.
I have a feeling that Kirk Cousins is going to be back.
So all right. So in that game, obviously you talked about that it's weird Chargers being a 3-point favorite. Do you like anything in that game, or is that just one of those you look at and you're like, this is just weird, I'm not touching it?
I don't know. I mean, I still do I have to pick a side of the total in a big game, but I don't bet them. So for that, I guess I'll do Chargers and the over, but it's just, I was looking at it and I was like, do I want to watch a Chargers game rooting for the over or the under? Yeah, I'd rather have the over.
All right, let me give you a couple of my fantasy decisions that I have. One's from a game we talked about, and I'm going to get to the next one. I have two decisions that I'm 100% going to make the wrong move in both of them. The first one, we already talked about the Lions. Tight end, I've got one spot. It's either Laporta or it's Trey McBride. Trey McBride at Houston, Laporta at home against Chicago. I think you have to go Laporta, but have you seen Trey McBride's game log the past 5 weeks?
Is this where you're going to go pull out your stats you've been sending me?
No. This is where I'm going to type it in right here, and it's going to pull it up. This is, okay, from where are we? October 15th. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 weeks. Past 5 weeks. He's had 4 catches for 62 yards on 5 targets. He had 3 catches for 29 yards on 6 targets. Okay, he was just kind of starting to get going a little bit. 10 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown on 14 targets. 3 catches on 5 targets. That was the Cleveland game. And then last week versus Atlanta, 8 catches, 131 yards on 9 targets. So when you're looking at his targets, 5, 6, 14, 5, 9. I mean, he's basically got a floor of 5 targets a game. He's got upwards of 15 targets a game. We saw it with Zach Ertz that they've done it in the past before, where it's like sometimes they just get a drive and they just throw it to him 6 times. And it's like, in fantasy, one drive can make your whole day.
Yeah.
But still Laporta for you over Trey McBride?
I think so, just because I trust the Lions to put up points against Chicago. I think the Cardinals will also put up points, but Laporta's been kind of hit or miss the last couple of weeks, it feels like. Chicago is probably a hit for him. Probably. You got to trust who's got you there so far, but
yeah. But I mean, this is going to turn into, I'm just going to have to start playing Sam Laporta and Trey McBride every single week. I'm going to have to start using a flex on one of them.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. What other? Okay, here's a gross game at 1 o'clock, but I got a stat for you.
Okay.
The Cowboys at the Panthers.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are, what are they? I think 11, 12-point favorites, something like that. They're 11-point favorites. If you look at the first quarter, the Panthers are plus 2.5 at plus money. The Carolina Panthers are 8-1 against the spread in the first quarter this year. As bad and as gross as they've been, they're 8-1 in the first quarter. I don't know what that means. I don't know why. I don't know if it's luck. I haven't gone through it. It's just a stat that I have. They're 8-1. You might just have to plug your nose and do it.
It'd be funny if the one game they lost the first quarter was actually the game they won.
They won. Yeah, I don't even know which one they lost. I guess I could go through, but it's like that's just one of those where it's like. So here's the stat with it: is they rank second in the NFL first quarter points allowed at 0.8. So their defense just has like 1 quarter in them.
Per game.
Yeah, point for the first quarter.
Yeah.
Is their defense just like a 1 quarter defense?
So they've given up 7 points.
I would assume that's what it is.
Total.
Once again, I'm reading.
Times 9 is
You're the math guy.
0.8 times 9 is 7.2, so they would round to 7. So yeah, they've given up 1 touchdown
Once again,
in the first quarter.
You could put these stats in front of me, and I'll believe them. So I'm saying as if these are true because to me they're true. But just in case any of them aren't true, I'm getting out in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me that, then I almost want to take the Cowboys team total under in the first quarter.
Yeah, right. I think you almost kind of want to take both.
Yeah.
Cardinals, Texans, we talked a little bit about with when I just brought up Trey McBride. Cardinals have gone over their team total 7 of the 10 games this year.
Is that the Dobbs effect?
I would say combination of Dobbs and combination of just when they're down 3 touchdowns, they just kind of put up some points in the fourth quarter, and they're the Jaguars from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's when the defense doesn't scare you. Yeah, right? I almost like the over and the Cardinals. I kind of like both team total overs, but the Cardinals team total and the over would be what I would go for first.
Yeah, I think taking the over in a game with CJ Stroud is not a bad idea ever.
What any other thoughts on that?
If I switch chairs here. On that game, I don't think so. I probably like the Texans.
I mean, it's Cardinals, Texans,
yeah. There's
right,
CJ Stroud, and then there's the rest of the players.
So here's the second decision I have for fantasy, and I'm playing against CJ Stroud this week. Quarterback, I have Kyler Murray and I have Sam Howell. Our league is slightly different because you get a half a point for every completion and minus half a point for every incompletion, and passing touchdowns are 6 points. So passing is weighed more heavily than normally in a quarterback, at least in terms of touchdowns, than Kyler. They're projected for, at least in my league with our stats, like 0.08 points of each other. Like they're as close as it gets. I'm kind of using your logic you said before, even though Kyler just came back, like I'm trusting what's got me here. I mean, Sam Howell's been awesome this year. I mean, maybe not necessarily 100% from a actual NFL standpoint, he's been fine, but from a fantasy standpoint, he's been great.
Yeah, I think even though it's a game where the total is 10 points different, the Cardinals game is 10 points higher than the Giants-Commies game, I still probably lean Howell against the Giants defense. I'd expect the Cardinals to be able to run the ball a little more than the Commies probably will. So, yeah, if you're trying to value passing, then probably Howell. In a standard league, I'd probably take Kyler.
The issue that scares me is his one bad game recently was the one at the Giants, and the Giants sometimes can just do that to you. Like you forget you're playing football. I mean, when you're looking at his pass for me, so going back to Philly, which they played in week 4, he's had 30 points against Philly, 41 against Chicago, 27 against Atlanta. He had 11 against the Giants, 52 against Philly, 27 against New England, and 37 against Seattle. It puts him up.
Pretty good.
Now, the issue that I said leads me into my next stat. The Giants, they get teams to forget that they're playing football. And that logic, the Giants are the opposite of the Arizona Cardinals. The New York Football Giants have gone under their team total in 8 of the 10 games this year. That's what scares me.
The Giants have gone under their own team total, you're saying?
Yep. Which means they turn those into those kind of games where obviously you have a game like the Cowboys last week where the other team's going to put up 40 points occasionally. But they have these games where teams just like, oh shit, we are playing football out here. It's 2 minutes left in the third quarter and we're up by 3. Like, just because they haven't scored all. I mean, the Giants don't score in the first half ever. Like, it's actually crazy. I don't know what the number is, but it's got to be like 6 or 7 games that they've scored 0 points in the first half this year.
Yeah, they have 1 touchdown in the first half all year.
It's as much as we joke about the Packers, like the Giants are like, like even the Panthers. It's like there's some hope here. There's the Giants. It's like what like Dayball has went from coach of the year, whether you want to say he earned it or not, or they kind of just had a fluke of a couple games and basically turned out a good record. I mean, this year it's like he's got no idea how to coach from a X's and O's standpoint, but also from what we've seen, the way he's been going at players, the way he's been having these conversations on the sidelines. It's like these head coach, you don't see Harbaugh, you don't see Tomlin grab a guy by their jersey on the sideline in front of everybody unless they know they're doing it and they're doing it for a reason. Dayball, and I get it was with Tyrod Taylor, so it's like, what do I really care? And this was a couple weeks ago. What do I really care? It's like Tyrod's not our future. But you see a coach do that to a veteran, and these rookies or these younger guys are like, the fuck, if he's going to do that to a veteran, he's going to do that shit to me too. It's just kind of like the whole culture. And to me, it's like, it's crazy because I think that there's no football in that building. There's no culture in that building. There's no sorry, Kyle, there's no hope as a Giants fan. Like literally no hope as a Giants fan right now. I mean, your best case scenario is like in 3 or 4 years, we're going to win like 9 or 10 games.
Yeah, you definitely don't see it improving soon, especially not when Tommy DeVito is your starting quarterback.
And it's just like, it sucks because Saquon is so good, but your best player can't be your running back. Just can't. It just no. These days, it just cannot be your running back. And it's to me, it's crazy. I don't know why they don't use him more as a receiver and just out in the slot too. It's just like, what he's. I'm not even going to say arguably. He's the best catching running back in football. He's the most explosive after he's got the ball. That's a guy that you're just like, let me find. And I know obviously he's come off injuries. You don't want to overwork him, especially in a year like this where you're going to fucking suck anyways. But I mean, how do you not get him 25 touches a game?
Yeah, when you had a hope of being decent this year, that's when you got to get him the touches. You can't, like you said, you can't really do it now when you have no hope. But if you want to have a chance, you got to get him the ball.
It's just, it's like half the time they get him the ball, just hand it to him up the middle with an offensive line that can't block. And it's like, oh, well, he's just getting tackled for a 2-yard loss. It's like, no shit, he's getting tackled before he has the fucking ball. Like, even get creative. They don't even get creative. It's a halfback draw right up the middle every time. It's crazy. It's like they're playing Madden and they did Ask Madden. And it's like, okay, Ask Madden gives you this play. It's like, no, I'm going to hit triangle instead of square. Like, no, I appreciate the offer, but no, I'm going to go back to the halfback draw. 3rd and 12, halfback draw. What
I will give you some
clock games. Go ahead.
I'll give you some confidence in Sam Howell if you like. There's been 2 games where Tommy DeVito has been the guy for the Giants, the Raiders and the Cowboys. The Raiders, yes, Aiden O'Connell did not have the world's greatest game. He didn't throw for any touchdowns. They have Josh Jacobs. It was a Josh Jacobs game. Raiders scored 30 points. Cowboys just scored 49 points. Dak threw for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I like Howell's chances because I don't think
Dak threw for 7 touchdowns last week.
No, I was lying.
Oh, you said that and I believed you. That's how bad the Giants are. That's literally how bad the Giants are. I knew he threw for like 430 yards or something.
Dak threw for 404, 4 touchdowns and a pick.
Yeah.
And he ran for a touchdown.
That's crazy that you could say he threw 7 touchdowns. And I said it kind of shocked, but not no way. I was like, he really threw 7 touchdowns? That's very believable against the Giants. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and the Commanders are not going to be the team that runs the ball like that, like a Josh Jacobs does. So, yeah, I'd say Sam Howell has a good chance here. I took the over on that, right?
Speaking of Josh Jacobs, I'm obviously a big Josh Jacobs fan.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Pierce has been the head coach for 2 games. Josh Jacobs has 26 carries and 27 carries. Sometimes you just get your best player the ball. Sometimes it's quite literally that easy. 26 carries for 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, and last week he had 27 carries for 116 yards. Sometimes just, hey, Giants, look what the Raiders are doing. And they've got Devontae, too. They've got other options.
Yeah. You like the Raiders
so
plus 14?
I kind of love them. It scares me. But, I mean, it's when you look the 2 games before with McDaniels, Jacobs had 11 carries against Chicago and 15 carries against Detroit. Now he's got 26 and 27. He had 26 carries in 2 weeks. And his first game with Antonio Pierce, he had 26 carries. Josh McDaniels is another guy. He better thank Bill Belichick for everything that he has in his life because, or maybe even Tom Brady. Who knows? But it's crazy when these coaches go out and they get exposed, and it's just McDaniels was only there for that long too because the Raiders didn't have the money to fire him.
Yeah.
While
we're on the Raiders,
I
have a couple fantasy questions for you.
Okay.
It's insane that I have to ask this question. Nico Collins, non-PPR, or Devontae Adams?
I still think it's Devontae.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Because to me, it's as much as I like Josh Jacobs today too, if the Raiders get behind early, they're just going to start throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could see
Go ahead.
Nico Collins. It's weird for me to almost say this, but it's he feels like his floor is probably a little higher than Devontae, but his ceiling's not quite where Devontae's is, especially in a game like today. But I would probably go Devontae.
Josh Allen or Justin Herbert?
Ooh. Are they? The Bills are tonight?
Afternoon.
Tomorrow night? This afternoon?
Yeah. One of the 3 afternoon games today.
Let me see. Let me see the Packers QBs against Packers. Let's see what they've done this year.
They haven't given up a lot of points. Just points overall, not even just quarterback points.
Yeah, so if I'm just looking by touchdowns, Kirk had 2 touchdowns against them. He's the only guy that had 2 touchdowns against him. Carr had 1, Fields had 1, Garoppolo had 1, Goff had 1. So the touchdown upside feels like it's fairly limited. And even when you're looking at yards, Kirk's the only one that really had a good game. Kirk had 275 yards.
And he got hurt in that game.
And 275 is not even it's a good game. You're fine 275.
Yeah, my point was he missed a.
No, I know. He could have. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is even if he would have finished the game with 275 and he finished the full, played the full game, it's all right, well, it's still, whatever. But looking at these other numbers, Desmond Ridder 237, Fields 216, Goff 210, Garoppolo 208, Russell Wilson 194. Obviously, these aren't
not very good
big name quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Goff 210. I think it's still got to be Josh Allen at home.
Yeah.
It could go horribly wrong. That's what I heard. I forgot who said it. I heard it somewhere. I can't remember who said it. They said at some point, if Josh Allen is good, he's just going to have to start playing good.
That's a great
we keep saying Allen's good, But at some point, he's going to have to play good for us to keep saying he's good.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. Any other fantasy?
I think that's it on my end.
All right. I'm going to go through some of the bets or props that I like on the early slate. Any props or anything stand out to you?
I have not really looked at props, so no.
Or even, I'm not even just like, but certain guys that you've liked for a fantasy perspective or something where it's like, hey, let's like look at his props and see what they're at. I'll give you a couple while you're looking. I got a couple that are juiced, but I like they're juiced. Usually they're juiced for a reason. Going to, I don't know if we really talked about Tennessee at Jacksonville at all, but going to that game, Tyjae Spears, 20 plus receiving yards and 3+ receptions. His 3+ receptions is like -150, -160, so that's juiced. But I like I said, it's juiced for a reason. When you look at the past, I think it's like 5 games, 6 games, whatever it is. He is averaging, he's got 16 catches his past 5 games. So he's at, I don't know, what's that, like 3.1, 3.2, something like that.
Yeah, 3.2.
Yeah. So that's why I like his receiving over when you're looking at it. He had the game against the Ravens where he only had the 1 catch in London. Outside of that, Indy had 4 catches on 5 targets. Atlanta 3 catches on 4 targets. Pittsburgh 4 catches on 6 targets. Tampa last week 4 catches on 5 targets. And he's had 42 yards, 48 yards, 35 yards, 18 yards. So he's kind of been in that general ballpark. If this is a game that you think the Jags, I don't want to say they roll, but if, they're touchdown favorites, so, if the Titans are playing, from a touchdown behind, to me, I think that's some good passing props or receiving props, I guess I should say, for him.
Yeah, that's a good call. On the same game, do you like Levis over 216.5 then?
Yes, but he's now just
shot.
Yeah, he's turning into a guy that's going to have like 140 yards or 320 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, last week wasn't great. Last week I think he had 130 yards, 100 something. He wasn't great last week. But yeah, he's the kind of guy that you would take a passing over, or like for me, I like Sam Howell's passing over. Those are the kind of guys when they're going to throw the ball a bunch. Or even if they don't throw it a bunch, when they do throw it, the majority of the time is down the field. So when you're looking at yards or even longest completion, that's what was the number 2? What'd you say?
It was 216.5. You can also,
yeah,
if you want to take over 256.5, if he's gonna go over, he's probably gonna go over by a lot.
Yeah, I'd say when you're looking at that, you've 275 plus is plus 390, so it's like at that point you might kind of want to ladder it a little bit. Going through a couple others, we talked about Trey McBride earlier. I just think once again his props aren't where they should be. His receiving yards prop has kind of finally gotten up there. Now it's like I think 55, 56, 57, so that's kind of up there. But his receptions is still, let me double check, make sure. Yeah, it's still over 4.5 receptions. So if you're looking at him getting 5 receptions, like I said, it's hit. I think it was 4 of the past 5 games. Just seems to be a guy that, once again, when you're talking about ladders, like if he's going to do, if he's going to have 5, 6, 7 catches, he might have, 10, 11, 12 catches. Those are kind of the games that he tends to have. Well, not just him, but tight ends in Arizona in general. You see him have 4 catches for 13 yards, or they have 13 catches for 92 yards. That's just kind of how they play football in Arizona. The other tight end we talked about, Laporta at home against the Bears. His props, I think, are still kind of the rookies. It takes a little bit time to catch up, even with the Ravens, like with Zay Flowers. Like it's like, all right, he's had a good game, he's had 2 games. Even with Justin Jefferson his rookie year, it's like, all right, like it's starting to go up a little bit, but it's like this guy's just gonna put up 100 yards every game. Like you're gonna give me a total at 59.5. Like, okay, I'll bet that again. If I were to say Sam Laporta's receiving yards total this week, what would you guess it is?
'40s, '50s, maybe
42.5.
That's
I thought it'd be closer to 50.
Yeah, I would have put probably mid 40s, mid 48 maybe.
And once again, he's over 4.5 receptions too. So these tight ends, I guess, are kind of settling right in that 5 reception kind of. These are kind of where they are for the most part. Going through any other 1 p.m. games. Steelers, Browns. I like Jerome Ford's rushing over. He's started to play better since he's come back from that ankle injury. With DTR, and you assume they're going to probably run the ball more.
I think so.
Steelers' run defense is not their specialty, that's for sure. Steelers missing both their starting linebackers rest of the year. Quan Alexander's out for the year, and the other guy, Holcomb, I think, is the other guy. Both their middle linebackers out for the year. To me, feels like a Jerome Ford rushing over game, and also feels like he breaks one. So I like his longest rush. I just pulled it up. His longest rush is Jerome Ford longest rush, 15 plus yards. So
I don't hate either Jerome Ford or Kareem Hunt plus 220 or score.
Yeah. Although this could be a game
trying to pick one of them.
I would say, and this could be a game where there are very few scores. Yeah. I could see Jerome Ford having 78 yards and never getting close to scoring.
Yeah.
Anything else at 1 o'clock? I haven't even really looked at 4 o'clock at all. So, the other, I'll say real quick, Chargers, Packers. Mm-hmm. I'm betting it almost every single week now. Still plus money. Keenan Allen scored a touchdown, plus 120.
Yeah, makes sense.
He keeps scoring.
I was gonna say, back to Texans Cardinals. Devin Singletary. What I'm seeing is like 2 receptions is minus 179. I was thinking about parlaying that with your Ty-J Spears receptions.
I like that. Does Dameon Pierce suck?
He's hurt.
I know, but he wasn't great before he got hurt.
I think it's just based on how the Texans are playing this year. I think he's more of that kind of bell cow running back, and because they've been throwing the ball all over, his usage is taking a little hit. But
there was no way for CJ Stroud to have the CJ Stroud year and Dameon Pierce still look good as a running back.
To have the year that he did last year, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't think he sucks, but fantasy-wise, it's not as good as we were expecting.
I just pulled up Keenan Allen's stats because I wanted to see. Feels like he gets targeted literally every play. So I'm gonna read you his targets. This is every single game this year, going back to starting at week 1. 9 targets, 10 targets, 20 targets, 5 targets, 11 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, 14 targets. One game he had 5 targets. Every other game he's had 9 targets. 5 of the 10 games he's had double-digit targets.
Pretty good.
As much as we get on Staley about being an idiot, at least he's following the logic of get the ball to your best player. See, and you can accept losing that way. Like it sucks because the Chargers are never going to win, and that's just what the Chargers are. But it's like when you look and you're like, all right, well, Keenan had 8 catches for 77 yards, or he had 11 catches for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, all right, well, at least we're getting him the ball.
At least you're not that.
I'm surprised if Keenan Allen was on the Giants, they'd be giving him the ball and running up the middle. Two other things that I was looking at. I guess even a couple more. Kyler's passing over, I like. I think once again that game in Houston can turn into back and forth.
What's his rushing?
Justin. Kyler's rushing is.
I just wonder if that stayed low when he came back from
32.5.
Pretty low.
Yeah.
For him.
But speaking of rushing, Justin Fields is rushing against the Lions. Lions tend to be able to get after the quarterback. I think Justin Fields, if the Bears keep it this remotely close, and when I say remotely close, I mean within like 2 scores, Justin Fields, I think, goes over his rushing number, which I see right now is 43.5. Feels like a pretty good number.
Is Jahmyr Gibbs and Justin Fields have the same rushing total, which is just funny to me.
It's true. And David Montgomery is higher than all of them. Fucking scrub.
That's concerning.
There was one other that caught my eye. Oh, 4 o'clock. You were asking about Josh Allen. If I was going to say that there was one receiving prop on the Bills that I like, who would you guess I'm going after?
Gotta think Diggs.
You'd think. But it's Dalton Kincaid. Going back to their game against New England 4 games ago, 8 catches for 75 yards on 8 targets, 5 catches for 65 yards on 7 targets, 10 catches for 81 yards on 11 targets, 5 catches for 51 yards on 6 targets. 50, so his yards, 51, 81, 65, 75. So you'd think his receiving yards total would be, maybe mid-50s. Maybe it's not going to be crazy high because it is the Jets. So, you're going to kind of get a little bit taken away from that. But no, it's 49.5. So it's just at 50. I think you're literally getting a 10-yard discount because it's the Jets. And for me, the Jets, obviously they've got CJ Mosley, who's good cover linebacker. But to me, when you're looking at like the Jets, like shutdown guys, it's the guys on the outside, so it's kind of Diggs and Gabe Davis are the ones that, not saying, we always talk about great offense is always going to beat great defense. But to me, I think if there's a way you're going to pass it on the Jets, I think it is kind of over the middle, especially with a guy like Kincaid. So I think 50 yards and his receptions prop was, all right, now it's up to 5.5 at plus 120. It was 4.5 at like minus 160. So I was going to say you could take, parlay the Kincaid 5+ receptions at, 40 yards or, like something like that and kind of get it to even money. But yeah, I mean, even when you're still looking at, 6 catches for him, like I said, he's had that in 2 of the past 4 games. And in all 4 games, he's had at least 6 targets. So he's had 6 targets, 11 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets. So, that's kind of, can't catch the ball if you're not being thrown the ball.
I also don't hate Diggs' receptions, 6.5.
Yeah, Diggs is another guy that you just kind of are like, oh, he didn't have a great game today. He's got 7 catches for 79 yards. It's like, oh, he didn't really have a great game today.
Yeah, plus money for 7 is not the worst.
Yeah. All right. Anything on later or tonight or anything before we finish this up? I haven't really gotten on to later outside of, like I said, a few of the Bills stuff, but outside of that, I haven't really gotten to the later games.
Are the Vikings just going to feel like a trap play for every game that Dobbs is the quarterback?
Here's the issue with a guy like Josh Dobbs. There's a chance the bubble doesn't burst. But when it bursts, it bursts. And I'm not saying necessarily just like Josh Dobbs plays bad. I'm just saying there's a game where that bubble burst, it I think goes from there. And I think you're like, oh, well, he just had a bad game this week. Next week, oh, they're only a 2-point dog, whatever. And then they lose by 15. Or the bubble never bursts and he just, somehow, some way is scoring a 15-yard touchdown to win the game every week.
Because last week I was looking at Vikings 3-point dogs against the Saints. They're sitting there and
3-point dogs against the Broncos this week too.
Yeah. It's just, is it never we're just gonna be 3-point dogs for the rest of the time? It feels like such a trap to take the Vikings right this week again.
And it's like the ultimate, like, okay, everyone just, Denver was horrendous. They sucked. They were the worst. Now they've kind of caught a little bit up. Now they're facing Josh Dobbs and the Vikings. They're kind of rolling a little bit. It's like, this could be one of those games where it's like people are excited, whatever. And then it's like halfway through the third quarter, it's like 12-7. And it's like, this game fucking sucks.
Sunday night unders. Yeah. I would think the Broncos have a little letdown.
Yeah, that is Sunday night. That is tonight.
Yeah. I would think the Broncos have a little letdown from last week's should have been lost but turned into a win. Kind of a short week, I guess, but I wouldn't expect Broncos -3.
All right, let's finish up on this because you brought it up last week. We talked about bad coaching decisions. How does that happen if you're the Buffalo Bills? Like, what they're doing. They're running a play. They have no timeouts. They're running their field goal unit on. They're not. You put your 11 guys for your field goal unit on the field. You don't need to switch. They're switching. Why are you running guys on it? If they want to take a shot on that play and they're going to throw it against your field goal unit, let them do that. But for you to have a defense on and then run your field goal unit on and off, it's like, that's like basic coach. Like, what they're doing. You're just making it. And Denver, just kick the fucking field goal. And if you lose the game with 18 seconds left, you lose the game with 18 seconds left. But imagine not being able to kick the field goal because you have to run it down from, I think it was like 21 seconds to like 17 seconds or, whatever it was. That's kind of, when you look at it, it's like, okay, maybe, we're going to run off an extra 13 seconds and we're going to kind of kick it at the end and there's not going to be time. I'm in the camp of kick the field goal, make the field goal, and if you lose the game with 16 seconds left, you didn't deserve to win the game to begin with. Just poor coaching.
Yeah, I think I can't.
Yeah. So,
am I cutting out or are you cutting
out? No, I can hear you. But I'm gonna wrap it up anyways.
Cool. Yeah, don't disagree with anything you said. Very, very dumb. Very dumb from the Bills.
Both ways. Just crazy. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna wrap this up. You in your beach house in Minnesota. Looks lovely up there in Minnesota. Because Viking fan JP can't ever be anywhere else besides Minnesota. That's how my brain works. So
exactly.
Enjoy your Minnesota beach house. Deuces.